Hello, this is Olaf from Enforcer and you're watching Over Music. Sometime in 2005, I played around with a lot of different types of bands, death metal, black metal, thrash metal. Felt like it was kind of something missing to it. We used to do a lot of covers from bands such as Venom, Acceder and that kind of things, and I somehow felt that was like so much more energy in that type of music. So that eventually led to the idea of the creation of a band with this type of sound, I think. And in 2005, 2004, there was like absolutely no real metal whatsoever existing in the entire world. Everything was about like camo pants and chugga chugga and rap vocals and chugga this and chugga that, and you know, so just like go completely against the trends and form a band in like a more of a classic metal vibe was something that was remarkable at that time. I think it was kind of hard to get members in the first place, so I ended up doing most of it myself, starting the band like as a one-man band, you can say. And once we got a little bit more exposure, we eventually I managed to put a solid lineup together, and that's when the actual band was born, and I think that was in 2006 sometime. And since that, it's been just going, you know, 5 studio albums later and lots of concerts. We've been touring the world, we've been doing everything, so it's been a great ride for sure. We were pretty exhausted coming back from all the touring that we did on the From Beyond tour 2015-16. So we took a break from the band and came back to it sometime in mid 2017. We had some ideas. I think the first idea was to record Tobias' song called Regrets that eventually came to be Regrets, and some other ideas we've been playing around with. The recording went kind of smooth. We wrote the majority of the material in Austin, Texas, because Jonas the drummer, had been moving there sometime in early 2017, I think. So it was a nice place to like make demos, figure out where we wanted to go, and that was that was it. And then we came back to Stockholm sometime in, I think, early 2018, where we put the bed tracks in a studio in Stockholm. So it was kind of smooth, but it took a lot of time for a lot of reasons. I think we wanted to be like very particular about it, and I think for every album that you do, you become more careful with what you're doing, both in terms of composing, but also in terms of recording. We wanted to have like a super huge production on this album, and in order to do that, there was like a lot of things that we felt was needed, like record in a big room, for example, and just like spend a lot of time tracking everything so it would be like absolutely dead tight. So that was pretty smooth. We did all the mixing, all the production more or less ourselves. We had some help with the vocals from our friend Richard, who's been doing most of our albums, and we had some tracking help also in the studio. But apart from that, we've done everything ourselves on this album. I think it's more or less the artist work. It's a representation or like an idea based upon the song called Zenith of the Black Sun. The song itself is about the discovery of, perhaps you could say, like the invention of gods, like of mankind, and how things in nature turn out to lead to the creation of gods and the worshipping of them, I think. And that's a little bit the thematics behind this entire album, and especially that song and the cover artwork for sure. We shot both videos one day in a studio in Stockholm, and it wasn't really much. We wanted to do videos who were like more centered around the band, so we could let the music speak. Sometimes you can just come up with huge ideas and it's impossible to make them justice because you don't have the budget normally. But I think it's we wanted like more or less like playing videos, and both of them like with a different like artistical approach, different colors, different contrast, different everything. So the first Die for the Devil we just shot in a TV studio or like a random studio, and the same was like we did that in the afternoon the same day, just like playing more or less music videos. Live by Fire 2 has, that was recorded in Mexico City in August of 2019, the first show out of 58 in North America on the Zenith tour. And was it recorded? It was kind of spontaneous thing anyway, because we had this show booked. We knew there was going to be a good show. Mexico City is obviously one of the greatest places on earth you can play metal music, so we knew that it was going to be a good show. We also knew that it was like a good venue for this, so we could like present ourselves in a pretty good way. This was like a chance or an opportunity we couldn't miss. So we decided like 5 days before the show just to do this recording. We hired a Mexican film crew. We flew over our light guy from Sweden who could like who had all the cues and everything we needed for this. We recorded it just like super spontaneous, and that was the outcome of it. No, it's not difficult. I think it's like you just play and you don't think so much about that you actually record it. I think once I'm on stage, for example, I don't think much about that it's being recorded or anything like that. You just focus on doing the best possible show you can do. Then everything around, I mean, cameras, stuff like that, that's like you just let other people handle that type of things. So I don't know if it's difficult. It's just like you just do it. I think it's the second live album we do, so we had some experiences from the last time, some fields where we wanted to improve, and a lot of things. I think like, and the intention we had with Live by Fire 2 was more or less to make just not another live album, but to do the greatest live album that's ever been made. And how would we do that? For example, we started to mix the album with like a mindset of a full-length album. Like we wanted to have like huge, powerful drums, you know, and we could achieve that through that we do have in-ears, like monitoring and digital amps, so we could like keep the stage volume super low, so we could really process, like tweak and notch all the drum sounds, like super similar to a studio sound. And then you had like super clean and crisp signals from the rest of the instruments. So that's perhaps a perk of modernity, but I think it turned out pretty great. And then we turned it, instead of doing the audio to the video, we wanted to edit the video kind of like a long music video instead. So it would be like really interesting to watch, to have all these like pictures and zooms in, and you know, have to really make it feel like you are there at that time instead of just like show a concert more. So that's a little bit how the thought process behind this idea. I think it's pretty great. Obviously they have good like channels, good distribution everywhere you get your music out. For sure you can do more or less whatever you want because you have like the funds to do it. So they've been great to us, I think. Yeah, I can't complain. I'm honored to be on such a great and record label with such a heritage. Yes, well, things happen all the freaking time when you're out. There's been so many things, bad experiences touring. We crashed our tour vehicle in 2010, so it was like a near-death experience for us. Luckily we made it out alive with some broken ribs. We were on tour with a band called Airborne. We had a bunch of shows booked in Scandinavia, and we slipped on black ice and crashed head into a snow plow. This is like the first snow of the year. We had to cancel like 5 or 6 shows, and then then we were back at it again in Berlin. That was pretty extreme. Another thing, we were on tour with Destruction in Europe, and we got the engine of the tour bus broke down, so we had to get to a service station somewhere in Belgium at that point, and this turned out to be a pretty bad area that we were in. Like, so it ended up with the entire service station, not kidding, surrounded by terrorists or something like that, ISIS like guys who wanted to kill us because we had American people among us, and that wasn't very popular with them. It ended up that we had to get escorts from police away from the service station like 2 or 3 hours later to our hotels. That was pretty sick. Another sick story was when we were crossing the border from Bolivia to Peru. We were somehow talked into taking the bus instead of like a flight normally, because the promoters thought that it would spare us time, probably spare them money as well. However, we got into the bus, we started to ride, and somewhere when we got close to the Peruvian border, the entire roads were closed off for some reason. There were huge piles of dirt on the road, and so the buses couldn't, like, none of the traffic could pass on. And then we were closed from the back also, and then we heard people telling us that this was like bandits or guerrilla or whatever doing this to try to rob people on the road. We heard gun shootings in the backgrounds, and it was pretty surreal. However, we started to walk with all our gear towards the border, and eventually we got picked up by bike taxis that could like take us on bikes for a couple of kilometers so we could cross the border and get to the show in time. However, we had like the entire band at that time had like strep throat infection, so it ended up with, it was just like, I think Jonas, Tobias, no, not Tobias, but Joseph and me doing the show while Tobias was sick on his hotel room in Juliaca in Peru. That was also a pretty sick thing. Shit happens all the time, you know. That's a little bit of the fun in it too. It was actually a friend of mine who has a wife who's Argentinian. He's like a pop musician, and he suggested I would do one song just to try out, because he had done that for his pop project with quite successful outcome. So he suggested me that, and I tried to do one song, and I just think it turned out so pretty great. So I decided to like do the entire album like this. It was kind of a fun project to do. I had great helps from friends of mine, like rewriting the lyrics, rearranging everything, rewriting it, making it fit, and also helping me with the pronunciation a little bit. It was a great project, and it had great feedback. Not sure that I will do it again, but I think we're gonna do some type of Spanish exclusive song in the future, maybe. I think that's the plan, instead of doing versions. It was a cool thing. Yngwie Malmsteen, Dio, Scorpions, everything that I'm grown up with, extreme metal, Dissection, Mayhem, Morbid Angel, but also like Foreigner, stuff like that. Everything in like the rock genre, from classic rock to extreme metal, really, that gives me something. Creative music, whatever it is, but also Baroque music, jazz music, fusion music. I really don't want to limit myself or limit the inspirations to the band with anything. I'm not here to imitate a genre. I'm here to create music, original music, so I really don't focus on the genres. I think that's a very important thing if you're gonna do music that does not only go in one ear and out through the other. So always be limitless. That's kind of how I see it. But of course, there was like a lot of bands who had influence in the very beginning of the band, such as Exciter, Venom, and the whole new wave of British heavy metal thing, who really like put the big stamp on the band when it was created, and to like the soul of the band. So that, in like together with all these other things, like everything I hear, is impossible to say. Into the darkness. I think we can already now announce that we're gonna do a, we have a lot of new music. I think like 10, 12 songs written. The 2020 quarantine time has been great for us. It's been amazing to be able to focus on the creative sides of the band for once, and to be able to create music without the pressure of all the touring, all the logistics, all other shit that you have to do when you're a musician. So just with that pressure being taken off, it's been like, I've been like pouring music out of myself. So I would say at this moment we have like 10, 12 songs, and I think we're gonna do a split thing that, you know, split up the next album in 2 or 3 like shorter EPs maybe, and then compile them to a big album in the end. We're looking into releasing the first song in May, June sometime already. So keep your eyes open for that. It's going to be a very interesting thing. I think it's been very hard for us to decide what type of direction we're going to take with this, mostly because our previous albums was very mixed response to it. So I think we have to find a way where we can please our older fans, but also not go in the trap of being too repetitive with ourselves and always like develop our sound. So, but the songs that we have now, I feel very good about. I think that we check all those boxes, making interesting music, and also in music that even the older fans will feel at home with, I think. That's the plan. Stop it. No, but almost. I think that you should... don't expect any type of success because heavy metal is dead on a commercial level. Do it because you think it's fun. And if you think it's fun, then I have tons of tips. And the first would be like, do your own thing as much as you possibly can. Don't listen to anyone else. Just do your vision to 1,000% and just do it. I think that's the greatest advice that I could give like 15 years down in my own career. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope to see you on the road soon, and keep your eyes open for new Enforcer stuff in the near future. Take care.